So, can you walk me through the story of how you decided to start Extend?
Yeah, for sure. So, as I mentioned, I had been working at a consultancy here in New York City for 13 years prior to Extend. Extend's been around for, at this point, nearly 7 years from today. And so prior to that, I was a consultant building all sorts of digital things. And the CEO is someone I've known well for a good period of time. We're good friends. And he was previously at American Express and had been a bit of an expert in the digital B2B card payment. And when he was leaving American Express for family reasons, we were talking about what can we do next. And I told him, I don't know, but working for myself, that's been the best choice I've ever made. So let's figure out how you can do that too. And so we put our heads together, and I think there were some ideas floating around about what could you use virtual cards for. And traditionally, virtual cards had been used for more in an enterprise business context. They're not new technology, and pretty much every bank had an offering to enterprise clients. But they weren't available to small businesses. They weren't available to medium-sized businesses because they took too long to implement. Meaning that a bank could onboard a new corporate customer maybe two or three a month at most, because they're very time consuming, and there's all sorts of processes that have to happen at the bank. There's all sorts of technology that need to be integrated. And it just, so if you launched with 40 or 50 companies a year, the bank was looking great. And as a result, then this is an expensive proposition. We need to make sure that we pick winners, which is never a good solution for finding innovation, right? They have to know the outcome before they go in. And so they would pick only the biggest companies in order to onboard them for virtual cards. And so that meant small businesses, medium-sized businesses, they were just left out because they couldn't guarantee to spend enough money to make it worth the bank's time. And we put our heads together and said, what happens if we actually enabled you to send virtual cards from the existing card that you had? That was one of the big friction points. The onboarding into a virtual card program was very slow. And what we've learned really is that in fintech, onboarding is half the magic. How can you make people just be able to pick up your product, they hear about it, they try it out, it works? That's really a way to run. And so the two of us figured, okay, he has great relationships in the B2B spend space. I know how to build a product. Now let's put peanut butter and chocolate together and see what magic happens. As it would happen, our third partner, our third co-founder, was also leaving Amex at the time, and Amex gave them placement services, and he was sitting in the office right next door and would stick his head in every now and then. And our CEO knew him from Amex, and he would say, "What are you guys working on? Hey, that sounds pretty interesting." And one thing led to another. He's like, "No, what if I'm going to come along for this journey?" And what was really powerful is the three of us, despite having never done a true startup, we had a huge amount of business experience. And that business experience did not necessarily overlap. So the three of us had a huge amount of coverage in terms of what knowledge we brought to the table and what experience we brought to the table. And that gave us all the confidence to convince ourselves, to convince our families that we're going to go on this crazy journey. And so that's 7 years ago. And then we had to go out and convince another couple of banks, like, hey, by the way, we're just three guys in an office. Do you trust us? Because B2B is all about trust. It's all about relationships, right? It's not like we plaster the subway with a bunch of ads and hope that if we spend $50 or $100 per customer, we can acquire them. And our customers are banks. And so they have to trust that the technology we're bringing is solid, that they want to use our product, that we're going to be around in 6 months or a year or 5 years. If they want to introduce their customers to us, we have to have our ducks in a row. And so that's how that process came along. It's just been relationships. It's about the three of us doing all the pieces. And then as we grew and saw that it was really going to be an opportunity, we raised some funds, and then we could start hiring people that we knew and trusted to really grow the team. And that's how we got to, all these years later, 85 people and a really successful product, strong product market fit, a large number of banks that are using our product, large number of end users at those banks using our product, and continuing to grow. So it's amazing for me looking back. It's not, you hope that it's going to work out successfully that way, but I'm very much a pragmatist, very realist. You know how many startups fail. You know how tricky it is to get the work that it's going to take. And so everyone looks smart in hindsight, but it's amazing to think back at how we got to here.